So I'll ask you a question that I was talking with Roger Jenke, and he brought this up. Again, kind of a variation of, again, doing the work, what we do as, on the one hand, do you just remove of some crud, which could be a good thing, and then this more about, well, but what about the world of, like, maybe what Nan Lu or Larry Stoll talks about is the invisible. So we do things. You have a panic attack. I help you with your panic attacks. Probably a good thing.
Sure. Sure.
But is there a way to do that also somehow at least takes some accounting over makes some space for the invisible? It's not just about the panic attack.
Well, I don't know yet what you referring to as the invisible.
For instance, well, maybe you need the panic attack. Maybe your soul needs the panic attack to overcome, to learn something. Like, who's to say? There's a lot of Sufi tales when it's your hardships that you go through. And there's certainly a lot of hero's journeys things that the stuff you go through.
The dark night of the soul.
The dark night of the soul, or that make you who you are. So do we do people a disservice if we make it too easy for them to not have that problem?
Well,
or is that like, oh, stop it?
Well, I'll entertain it if you allow us to use the word karma.
Yes, sure. Yes. We can use the word karma.
So both from the Indian Vedic tradition of yoga, there's a sense of karma, and in English anyway, there's people are used to hearing the term "burn off your karma" from that tradition, and a similar tradition around karma arose in China in the Taoist tradition, and so the sense to be
also in the Buddhist tradition,
in the Buddhist tradition, etc. So the idea is that on a very, very spiritual level is what the energy work is for. Is that we do have our dark night of the soul, or our via negativa, and that it is through our struggle that we gain our spiritual strength. But it doesn't mean that we're supposed to have a life of suffering. For instance, if we know the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, it's about the non-attachment, right, to the suffering. So again, this letting go process. So if we are the energy healers of the 21st century, energy psychology, energy psychotherapists, energy healers, so then are we not taking that ancient role of assisting people through energy interventions to burn off the karma? For instance, in Kriya Yoga, there's an analogy that a certain amount of karma is burned off every revolution of the earth around the sun. But that one Kriya is kind of worth the value of a revolution, so that you can burn through it more quickly. So if we were to take the ancient traditions and then use them as a parallel to our work as energy therapists, we're helping people burn off karma at a greater rate, and that is assistive to the soul's journey.
Okay. So what about the idea of if you're an energy psychology practitioner, or for therapists for that matter, and the idea of rescue fantasy. So I now am working with you because it's really meeting my ego need to be cool and savior and rescue folks. Versus
the energy therapist.
The energy therapist. Bit of a
savior.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm attached to helping you. As opposed to I'm going to I'm involved in this. Well, this, I guess I'm already answering my question, but that's my question to you, is like, from a Qigong perspective, is there a way to work with people that amplifies this burning off of karma by maybe the therapist somehow being holding a certain position, a certain non-attachment, as opposed to I need to fix you?
Well, see that there's no fixing. If we have the paradigm in place that everyone's perfect just the way they are, we're really just assisting people in being.
Right.
That's all we're doing, is a not doing.
Right.
There's the spiritual paradox.
I know. There's a thing we did with. I actually was with John Diamond once, and he did this whole thing around. He would muscle test you in the role of therapist, but he had something. He had you think about fixing somebody, and then you'd go weak, and then he'd try to don't try to fix them, and then you'd stay strong. You, the therapist.
Yeah, there's nothing to fix.
Right. Right.
Or as they say in the 12-step tradition, God doesn't make junk. Yeah.
Right. And yet there's this idea of there's crud. So sometimes I say to people the only thing wrong with you is that you think there's something wrong with you.
Exactly. Yes. And from the Taoist tradition, they say, and the only reason you need a teacher is to teach you that you don't need a teacher. So we could say that the only reason you need an energy therapist is to teach you don't need an energy therapist, that you can be your own energy therapist. But that you need it.
And yet, we put out the place that and we make a sort of a big deal about it, is that energy psychology techniques seem to work a lot better than, say, well, I don't want to offend anybody, but certain other approaches that just talking. I mean, we do say this. We make a big deal about it.
Well, ours is the only intervention set in Western therapy that intentionally intervenes on the actual energy system in the body with the concept of cognitions and emotions at play. I mean, even an acupuncturist or an Oriental medicine physician... I was going to ask you
about this, yeah.
They haven't split the body-mind paradigmatically the way that Western medicine has.
Right.
And so they're diagnosing and treating simultaneously, but not, frankly, intentionally towards emotional trauma.
Towards specifics.
They'll
look at the whole body and they'll go, well, your liver...
Sure, the wood element is
out of
acting
balance
against the fire element,
whatever
etc.
it is.
Yeah.
And we'll balance that, but they won't say, when you were 7, this thing with your mother.
Right.
Or whatever.
And to be clear, some acupuncturists may, but I'm just talking as a field.
As a field.
Right.
But Chinese medicine, is it not true as a whole, doesn't tend to focus on specific events of one's life and treating those specific events as something that's important in healing.
Right. I think that's the major distinction of the field of energy psychology. That's what we're bringing to the table, is an energy intervention based off of very specific events that we can tell from our therapy point of view were the original blockage points of the free-flowing energy flow that people came into this world with.
Right.